What's up everybody, Dusty here, back with more of The Sims 2, and this time we are in Belladonna Cove, which was introduced in Apartment Life. See, I never actually owned Apartment Life as a kid, as by the time it first released, I was pretty burnt out on The Sims 2, and to this day, I've never really messed with a lot of the new mechanics it introduced, or even just played around in this neighborhood, so I thought it'd be fun to check it out. But ironically, in order to get the full apartment life experience, we won't actually be starting off in an apartment, as our leading man, Big City Dust, will instead begin his journey slumming it over at Main Street Mobile Homes.
Take a look at yourself. You can't do backflips. You don't know karate. You're white trash.
As former trailer park mixed trash myself, though, I do find it odd that the place is located right across the street from a high-rise office complex instead of pawn shops and liquor stores like you'd expect, but I guess the haves like to literally look down upon the have-nots here in the Cove.
I mean, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10?
Anyway, Big City soon realized that even a modest mobile home was outside the price range of a humble golf caddy's salary, so after signing the lease, he quickly began to search for a roommate. Clarence Philippine ended up emerging as the best candidate. Now, the fact that he was currently employed as a getaway driver was a little concerning, but he was a bit of a neat freak, which was nice as Big City was sort of a slob himself, and even more importantly, the dude was a total bro, you know? That's my dog. Plus, let's be honest, having him as a roommate was probably the smartest thing we could do. It's not like he could rob Big City. I mean, where would he possibly get away to after? Although I do wonder how Clarence actually fulfills his job duties, considering the man doesn't even own a car, but hey, that's his business. Now, as for Big City, life at the trailer park had its ups and downs. After only one day as a caddy, he received a promotion and now found himself working as a gas station attendant. Again though, I do have to ask how the hell one gets promoted from being a golf caddy to working at a gas station. Was he out schmoozing on the course and somebody was just blown away by his amazing potential to pump gas?
My boy's a pump jockey. Works for tips.
But during his first day at the gas station, an incident where his boss caught word that he was already trying to slack off does lead to him losing out on a day's pay. Man, I didn't even know they could speak Simlish with an accent. The xenophobia is rubbing off on Big City after only like 3 days in the trailer park. It's nice to see he's committing himself fully to the experience.
Will you stifle yourself? We're supposed to be incognitus.
He also found time to engage in his love of the arts. When his neighbors weren't being terrorized by his attempts to learn the violin, Big City could often be found at his computer, working on the next great American novel, which was about astronauts going to war with aliens or some shit. I don't really know. The system for writing novels in The Sims 2 is really abstract.
She also transcribed my work into a format you might consider a little bit more legible.
What I do know is that aside from his bromance with Clarence, Big City's social life was practically non-existent. After making a friendly introduction to Jessica Peterson, it seemed like the two were getting along pretty well, but after he misread some signals which led to some awkwardness, Big City found himself making a hasty retreat. His encounter with Callista Fox went much better, and the two of them definitely hit it off. However, his strategy of winning her over with lunch meat sandwiches unexpectedly backfired when he went back to his place to eat like a goddamn idiot, and by the time Big City had finished his meal, Callista was no longer in the mood to hang out.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Even when he expanded his search radius beyond the confines of the trailer park and went out to the local coffee shop in an attempt to meet somebody, he found himself striking out with every woman he talked to, and that included some of the employees. Eventually, he would resign himself to another night of playing pocket pool, and everybody else had to suffer the consequences as he took advantage of the open mic policy to share some of his sad boy poetry. You know it's bad when even Clarence doesn't want to hear that shit.
All in favor of skipping the poem?
Shortly after this, he would meet Ratna, and she must have sensed where things were going, as before he's even able to embarrass himself, she diverts the situation and offers to set him up on a blind date with what is revealed to be a senior citizen. Now, some people may think that Ratna was playing a joke on Big City, but I think she just realized that he was in the middle of a legendary dry spell and decided to be an honorary bro and help the poor bastard out, and Sarah would prove to be just the old thirsty bird for the job. In fact, the first date went so well that leads to a second, where our hero really pulls out all the stops. It's an absolute Mac Daddy masterclass, and Clarence is even there to get a front row seat like a total weirdo.
Let the boy watch. He needs to learn.
After dinner, Sarah is more than happy to accept the invitation to go back to Big City's place, and the two then engage in the fastest woohoo in Sims history. I'm not sure if it was because they woohooed after the date technically ended and the game needed to get Sarah home, or what happened, but I think it's safe to say that Big City is definitely going to embellish some of the details when he's recounting the story to Clarence later.
We get it, and that's it.
And this would prove to be exactly what Big City needed to get his groove back. Now that he was feeling himself a little, he decided to hit the books and get that one mechanical skill point he needed for promotion, and it paid off just as he was hoping for, as he now found himself working behind the register. And at the risk of offending the female viewers who make up the overwhelming majority of the audience for my Sims content, I just have to point out that women are like cats, and by that I mean most of you are extremely territorial and a little petty. And the game backs up this assessment because as soon as Jessica smelt that old pussy all over Big City, she quickly pounced to claim him as her own. With his confidence at an all-time high, I felt like Big City had earned himself a trip to the clothing store so he could pick up a couple of outfits which I felt were more appropriate. Also, it turns out that the clothing store in Belladonna Cove is the place to be. It's got its own pinball machine, and there's even a guy who hangs around outside and is willing to teach you the ancient art of breakdancing. Granted, I can't really tell if Big City actually improved all that much during his hours of practice. The whole time he was doing this, I just kept singing Randy from South Park. Of course, now that the first week was winding down, it was time for Big City to deal with the major downside of renting, and you know that's having to pay the rent. And he wasn't shy about letting the landlady know what he thought about her rates. Still, after a rocky start, I think it's safe to say that Big City had settled in rather nicely. In fact, things were going so well, he decided to host a party for everybody in the trailer park. Now, the whole party consisted of Big City watching Clarence dance while he ate, while everybody else talked amongst themselves outside until it was time for them all to watch Clarence and Big City play a game of kicky bag, but all the guests seemed to have a good time, so who am I to argue? Once the festivities had come to a close, Big City decided to stop by and pay Jessica a visit. And still riding the high from the success of his party, he surprised her with an impromptu proposal, which was followed up by them taking the next logical step and deciding to move in together. As all this was going down, I did realize for the first time that the woman didn't even own a bed, which did make her constant rejection of Big City look even worse in hindsight, but hey, all that was in the past. The two would be moving forward into a new life of domesticated bliss. Of course, now that Jessica had moved in, this does sort of leave Clarence as the odd man out. The trailer was already a little cramped with two people, and adding in a third certainly didn't help the situation any. Not to mention, the man does have some serious problems when it comes to taking a hint, and his habit of hanging out in Jessica and Big City's bed when he's left in the house by himself was downright creepy. But with all that being said, the man did possess a certain charm.
I sleep in a racing car, do you?
I sleep in a big bed with my wife.
But once it was clear that Jessica and Big City would be expecting a new addition to the family, it quickly became obvious that a trailer park might not be the best environment to raise a child. So they said goodbye to their friends at Main Street Mobile Homes and moved across town to Sentinel Apartments. But if you're worried that this is the end of Big City's story, don't be. This is just the beginning.
This isn't over until I say it's over!
What's up people, Dusty here again, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you didn't, then I've got no clue why you're still here at this point, like what are you doing? But if you did enjoy it, then why not leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel to be kept up to date with all my latest content. Or don't, don't let me tell you how to live your life. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching, I'm out.